Great to have you in on a Monday. Huge game tonight. Baylor, an underdog to Gonzaga. And they're a win away from mortality, the small school from Spokane, Washington. I went to college about 20 miles away, and I have a soft spot for Spokane. Potentially sports history tonight. The first time in about 45 years. 75% of the country is rooting for Gonzaga tonight. We root for history. We love history. Tonight will get a big rating. 13 million people watch Gonzaga UCLA, which was the best college basketball game I've ever seen, and I've been watching it for a long time. But here's what's fascinating about Gonzaga. And I know most of you, you don't know much about Gonzaga. They have become a Goliath, and they used to be a David. And I can't think of another sports team, pro or college, men or women, that's ever happened. Think about this. There's a reason the Yankees and the Celtics and the Lakers and Ohio State football and Alabama and Oklahoma and Kentucky and Kansas, there's a reason they're Goliath. They have a money advantage, a history advantage, a glamour advantage, a city advantage, a geographical advantage, an owner advantage, whatever it is. There's a reason they got there. Now, they may hire the wrong coach and be down for a while. Bama was. They may, they have a little chaos in the organization. Quarterback gets hurt or something. That happens. But they always get back to the top. There's a reason Goliath is Goliath, right? IBM's going nowhere. And then you have the Davids. And I'm not talking about all the Davids, but the good Davids. Xavier basketball, Gonzaga basketball, Boise State football, TCU football, the Oakland A's, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Minnesota Twins, the OKC Thunder. They occasionally get the right star, but he leaves. They don't have the payroll, but they're bad in baseball forever like the Rays, so they get a bunch of draft picks. They hit on them, and for 2 or 3 years, they're great, and then the players all go and make more money. But the little guy always returns to being competent, but the little guy. There's a reason he was a little guy forever. Small payroll, unglamorous town, don't attract free agents, whatevs. Then there's Gonzaga. David to Goliath. They are the best college basketball team in America. Okay, in the last 6 years. Well, what about the conference they play in? Who cares? In the last 6 years, they have more wins in the tournament than anybody. By the way, in the last 5 years, they have the highest winning percentage. They have the most wins. They're putting guys in the NBA. They just landed another top 5 high school player. They may land another top 15 high school player. Jalen Suggs may go number 1 in the draft. Probably 2, but may go number 1. When you watch Baylor and Gonzaga play tonight, there'll be 4 or 5 first-round picks. This is not a mirage. This is the rare story where the Rays become the Yankees. What? Okay, for 4 or 5 years, they're not slowing down. Mark Few is young, in great shape. He's not going anywhere. They don't cheat in their recruiting. They sell out their arena. They're incredibly well-funded, make about $14, $15 million a year. Players love them. They get NBA guys. They have a great system. Not Duke, not Kansas, not Syracuse, not Kentucky, that are a revolving door sometimes of players. 5 straight 30-win seasons never happened. Now, some of that is the conference they play in. But they are the best basketball program in America right now, the best college basketball program. I'm not sure Kentucky didn't make the tournament. Louisville didn't make the tournament. Duke didn't make the tournament. They'll try for history tonight, and I can't wait. You just don't see it very often. There's a reason favorites are favorites. They've had an advantage, and they may go down, but Oklahoma football, they may hire the wrong coach. They fly back. Alabama hires the wrong coach. They fly back. The passion, the money, the glamour, the history, the funding, whatever it is, phenomenal. What an unbelievable college basketball game Saturday night. God, it was fun. God, it was great. I was sitting there as I watched that game on my couch with the dogs, and I thought to myself, there are people in America that don't like sports. And I thought, Saturday night, what were they doing on their couch? Playing Scrabble, on their phone. I'm like, I got so much emotional joy. And I felt bad for UCLA. I thought UCLA for most of the game was a better team. It's fascinating. I'm watching the first half, and I'm like, Gonzaga's getting dunks and layups. UCLA is hitting all these tough shots. There's no way this lasts. There's no way. You can't keep hitting all these tough shots. Second half, early going, UCLA falls by 7, and I'm like, okay, finally. and they just kept hitting shots and shots. And so in the end, I think UCLA got as much respect as Gonzaga. What a story they are for Mick Cronin, who was the 5th head coaching choice. They got one kind of NBA guy, Johnny Jazinga, I think is
Juzang, yeah.
Juzang. He's their one NBA guy. I think he's a low first-round second, but what a story they were.
I mean, it's got to be an awful way to lose, but weirdly, I think I'd rather lose like that.
Yeah, I don't want to get blown out.
Yeah. And I mean, just to your point, like what an incredible way for UCLA to get back in the national conversation with Gonzaga. It was amazing. An amazing game.
I have a friend who is connected to the UCLA staff, and the UCLA staff had said before the game with Gonzaga is you got to be careful about running with Gonzaga because it's fun, and players like to get out and run. And you're down 3, you're down 4, and all of a sudden you look up and you're down 13. UCLA's game plan was walk it up the court and put a body on every Gonzaga player, every possession, make them sweat their points. They still got to 80.
Right.
But it's like if you think like Baylor tonight, my opinion, Baylor's going to run with Gonzaga because they have great guard play. So psychologically, UCLA knew going into the game, we can't run it up the floor. And so they went in saying, we're going to be more physical, get the loose balls, grab the rebounds. It was all psychology and coaching. Like, we can't run with them. We're not going to try. Let's make the game physical. And they did. It's what the Buccaneers did to the Chiefs offense. Hit them everywhere.
They changed the pace of the game.
Baylor, I think, thinks, and they're not wrong, we can run with these guys for a while because their guard play is so good. But what they can't do is contain, I think, Gonzaga's interior scores. So I think tonight's going to be high-scoring, wildly fun. I'll take Gonzaga, but I was just an incredible treat for everybody in America.
It was an amazing moment.
Congrats to UCLA. I can't even wrap my arms around a team that looked awful at the end of the regular season, gave away 4 straight games, 3 or 4, play-in game to Michigan State, and ended up here. What an unbelievable effort by that program, which is, by the way, a football throw away from where we sit right now. All right, coming up next, I've said this. I love college football. College basketball is kind of a month-long sport for me. You get in it for March Madness or a week or two before. But college basketball matters, and Jalen Suggs proved it. We talk about this in the NFL all the time. Quarterbacks always have a story. Baker Mayfield had to walk on. Aaron Rodgers had to go to the junior college route. Big Ben wasn't recruited by the big boys, went to Miami of Ohio. Russell Wilson dropped to the 3rd round. Tom Brady couldn't start in college. That's their story. It's easy to get your arms around and root for a story. And if you're a 17 and 18-year-old basketball star and you're looking to get a shoe contract, brah, it ain't just talent. What's your story? LeBron got a big shoe deal. He was a prodigy. He was the chosen one. Zion got a big shoe deal. Controversial, dynamic, shoe explodes. He had a story, not just talent. Zion was not going into college the number 1 prospect. He signed a bigger shoe deal than LeBron. The NBA has always dismissed college basketball as a really high-quality option for a year to the pros. You can go overseas. I'm not against that. You can go to the G League, make some money, couple $100,000. I'm not against that if you grew up super poor. But I think college basketball is the best option. Adam Silver and the NBA roll their eyes and barely even consider it an option. And I give you Jalen Suggs. LeBron's agent, Rich Paul, texting me during the game and after it. This kid now has a story. Jalen Suggs made several $1 million Saturday night. That was the best college basketball game I've ever seen. Let me ask you, what's the best G League game you've ever seen? Oh, wait, you never have. Jalen Green may be drafted 3rd. Jalen Suggs, 2. 1 will sign a massive shoe deal because he used the platform of college basketball, CBS, TNT, March Madness to make millions. That's why Baker Mayfield got a dozen commercials and was one of the worst quarterbacks his first year or 2 in the league. Oklahoma, bowl games. He had a story. He had to walk on twice. I'm not saying the G League isn't okay as an option, but the United States basketball culture is C player, pay him, or you're a bad guy. You're not willing to wait 9 months if you have at least some finances to get you through for 9 months, Jalen Suggs is now a commodity. I can't wait to watch him play in the NBA. Jalen Green maybe is talented. What do I care? I've got no visceral connection. You go to the G League, your coaching's worse, your facility's worse, your travel's worse, you have no marketing. I've never seen a G League game, just highlights. I'm not saying college basketball is for everybody, but the NFL has always understood that college football is a marketing and maturity platform to get known. That's why a Tim Tebow is not even good can walk in and lead the league in jersey sales. When's the last time in college basketball, when's the last time a G League guy who wasn't any good walked into the NBA and led in shoe sales? Steph played college basketball. Most of the all-time greats played college basketball. Now, LeBron was just too damn good. So was Kevin Garnett. So was Kobe. And I'm not saying that route is for everybody, but 13 million people watched Saturday night, and they all fell in love with Jalen Suggs. And so did Nike. Did you watch the Lakeland Magic win the G League title? Outside of the parents of the players, I'm not sure anybody did. College basketball is a wonderful platform. Not for everybody, but to dismiss it, why is football, why does the NFL draft crush every other sport in America's regular season TV ratings? Hell, it crushes some baseball and NBA and NHL first and second round playoff ratings. Why are we sitting on our couch for a weekend watching the draft? Remember when they had the pandemic and COVID and they were all doing it from their house? It's one of my favorite drafts ever. Why? Because the kids all had stories. You could put your arms around them and cry and root for them. Jalen Suggs has one, thanks to the unbelievable marketing of CBS and TBS or TNT or wherever it is, and YouTube and whatever TV station and network it's on. College basketball gives you a story. Stories make you a lot of money. Go get one. And Jalen Suggs now has a story. He is a gamer, and Jim Jackson is joining us live. He has been in Indianapolis. God, I hope they have golf courses. Otherwise, you're bored out of your mind.
Yeah, I've been here the whole time.
Oh, God.
You see my palatial estate here at the hotel.
You know, it's funny. I was talking to Rich Paul's LeBron's agent and interesting cat. And we had this big conversation a couple of weeks ago, and I said, listen, I'm not saying college basketball should be the only option, but I'm tired of hearing how it's not a good option. I don't know who the hell Zion is without Duke. I don't sit on YouTube all day. And I said, when I watch Jalen Suggs, okay, he gave up for 9 months G League money, but I'm now a Jalen Suggs fan. I am now completely into him. I'll be rooting for him. And you went through that college process. So I know who you were going into the NBA. Do you think sometimes the NBA too often dismisses college basketball because they don't pay the athletes as just sort of a third option, when I would argue for a year it can be the best option?
No, you have a good point. And I said this too about Zion, because keep in mind, Zion, when he came in, it was R.J. Barrett who was considered to be the number one player coming in the draft. But because Zion went to Duke, he played on national TV all the time, his popularity soared. Okay, so that means the money that he received from Nike and other endorsements, that also came to the table. If he was playing in the G League or playing overseas, he wouldn't have been as popular and maybe not been the number one pick. And the same thing can be said about Jalen Suggs. Not saying that he's going to be the overall number one pick and that he wasn't on the radar, but now I think from a fan's perspective, people around, that love NBA basketball now have witnessed Jalen Suggs come to the forefront. But I think it depends on the player too. What's your end game? Some players are looking to be a professional right away, a la like some guys that play overseas. That's okay. Some guys want to be able to experience, even if it's for 1 year, the college experience, get a chance to play like we see in the NCAA tournament. So it's across the board on what people want to do, but it's trending, Colin. Unfortunately, like a lot of guys still are going to look at the alternative options in regards to either the G League or maybe playing overseas.
When you see, listen, both these, there's going to be 4 first-round picks in the first round. When you watch Jalen Suggs, does he have a comp? Does he remind? I mean, quarterbacked in high school. So Mark Few told me last week he's physical, like he's a physical presence. Does he remind you of anybody in the NBA? I mean, how much success do you think he would have at the next level?
Well, I mean, a lot of comparisons are in the past to like a Jason Kidd, who probably can shoot it better at this point in his career.
Yeah.
Because Jason was like 6'4", big, strong. I don't know if he's as fast from baseline to baseline, but the physicality is there. The playmaking ability is there. The mindset is there in regards to him being a leader. So that's a lot of the comparative that they're using a lot of the times when they're talking about Suggs is with Jay Kidd with probably a better jump shot at this point. And then, again, the physicality of playing football is just off the charts.
Listen, Baylor's got real good guard play. I don't know if they can slow down Timmy or Casper down low. I just don't know if they can. What kind of – but I said this. UCLA knew, Jimmy, they knew they couldn't get into a track meet with Gonzaga. They put a body on him. They walked it up the floor. They knew that's just not their style. Part of me thinks Baylor thinks, oh, no, our guards can run up there. We got NBA guards. We're going to run a little bit with Gonzaga. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. Or stylistically, what do you think we'll see tonight, Baylor Zags?
Well, but you know what's interesting, Colin? Go back to the UCLA game. UCLA was only scoring 72 points a game, yet this was overtime, and both teams were over 90 points.
Yeah.
So even though it seemed like a slugfest, it wasn't in the 50s, 60s. It was still in the 90s. And I thought UCLA did a good job of exploiting. Mick Cronin did this. Almost NBA style, whether it was Jaime Jaquez or Johnny Juzang, he put those guys in a defensive disadvantage where those two players for UCLA were able to isolate and take a Corey Kispert one-on-one, a Drew Timme off the switch one-on-one. So he exposed that from Gonzaga. Now, on the flip side, Baylor, the best asset they have, you talked about, is their backcourt. Maceo T, Jared Butler, Davion Mitchell. The best way to stop the ball from getting inside is not allowing that pass to get there by your guards in the backcourt. So that's my thing, is that will Gonzaga be able to contend, one, with the pressure of the Butler guards, but also will they be able to defend and keep those quick guards out of the lane? So this is not a cut and dry Gonzaga win. They should be able to dominate because this is a tough, experienced, hard-nosed Baylor team that are going to take advantage of their quickness on the perimeter.
By the way, Johnny Juzang, butchered his name earlier, is such an interesting story. Goes to Kentucky. I think he came off the bench. Then he goes to UCLA, and he's their best offensive player. And you're just like, I watched him, and I thought he's going to get drafted somewhere. I'm sorry, It's amazing what that kid, the tournament did him a ton of favors.
Oh, big time
favors for him. So it's interesting. This whole tournament going in, did you feel Baylor Gonzaga? Did you feel they'd get here?
Yeah, I did, just from the simple fact of how they were built. Now, a lot of things played out in that way in regards to different teams being eliminated. And again, it all goes back up to matchups. In Michigan, I didn't think that it was going to be a tough road because Isaiah Livers, their best player, got hurt during the Big Ten tournament, and they got past, LSU. But look at UCLA. Their path, because they ended up playing teams like a Michigan State who was playing well at the end of the year, but they matched up well. Abilene Christian. So they gained confidence. So when they finally played at Alabama and the Michigan later on, they were rolling. Okay, so, but I did believe that Baylor and Gonzaga were the two best teams and will ultimately meet in the tournament. Rarely, Colin, I'm terrible at picking teams when it comes to brackets. I'm really bad at it, but I just felt those two were the best teams all year.
By the way, I don't want to get into all-time great teams, but I do feel considering what we're dealing with now, where in college basketball, if you get a Jalen Suggs, you get him for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with Duke and in these programs where Patrick Ewing would come back for a third or a fourth year. You don't have
Tim
that.
Duncan.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane to think Tim Duncan would keep coming back. But I will say in the last 10 years, because I can picture that, I think it's the best college offense I've seen in terms of flexibility, diversity. I mean, they can shoot threes, but they don't rely on them. They can go big, but they can also be a high-tempo team. Am I overstating it, or when you watch them, do you think to yourself, boy, this last 10 years, this is special?
No, it has been. I mean, you think about the last couple, they've been to a Final Four in 2017 as well, national championship game, and lost to North Carolina. So they have been trending this way for quite some time. And the common denominator is that you may have a Jalen Suggs, but you have, upperclassmen that have been there. I mean, take a look. You can also put Villanova in that situation because of what they were able to do from going from a big team to a smaller team, but offensively executing because you had upperclassmen, that were there, along with, a couple freshmen that came in that played, like Jalen Brunson that came in, but he ended up staying to his sophomore year.
Yeah.
So the trend there is that you got upperclassmen who are that end up developing and becoming really good college players in a system that they played 2, 3, 4 years. And so the continuity is there. And plus, I'll tell you what, Colin, coaches, when you circulate freshmen in and out, you know what you got to consistently do is teach. You got to consistently teach the little things. But when you have a team full of veterans, you're not teaching as much because you have guys that have been through the system that are also helping those young players mature offensively, but more importantly, mentally.
Well, that's beautiful artwork behind you in that Indianapolis hotel.
You like that? You're welcome to come and stay if you want.
I think I'll hit some golf balls in L.A. today. I'm good.
Have a cigar for me, too.
A couple. Good seeing you, buddy. Jim Jackson.
Right.
He's been working Westwood 1, doing a great job.